On my last three examples, I actually forgot to graph this. So we want to make sure that we know how to graph. So we're going to go ahead and find our x and y intercepts just as we have. So my x-intercept I find by plugging in 0 for y. And when I do that, that falls out. I get 2x divided by 2. I get x is 2. My y-intercept is found by plugging 0 in for x. So I will do that. Those fall out. I get negative y equals 4. Divide by negative 1, and I get y is negative 4. Now, how do we graph these? I didn't mention that. All we've done is look at graph and find them. Well, remember, this is where it crosses the x-axis. So I just find on the x-axis, right here's the x-axis, where it crosses is at 2. And this one is where it crosses the y-axis. So I go to the y-axis, which is right here, and I find negative 4. All I do then is connect those two dots together, and I have a graph. The next example, let's find the x and y intercepts so we can graph it. So I have the x-intercepts and I have the y-intercepts. My x-intercept, I would say I have 5x plus 10 equals negative 5. 5x equals negative 5. Divided by 5 is negative 1. On the x-axis, we'll graph that here in just a minute. Y-axis or y-intercept, I'm going to plug 0 in for x. I have 10y equals negative 5. Divide by 10. This is not a negative 2. This is actually, when you reduce the fraction, a negative 1/2. So on the x-axis, I find, here's my x-axis, I find negative 1 and create a dot. On my y-axis, here's my y-axis, I find negative 1/2. Now this is really close together, but there's negative 1/2. It's between 0 and negative 1. And what I will do is connect those two dots together as best I can. And there's my graph. This next one's a little bit, looks longer. It's not going to be any different. I'm still going to plug in 0 for my y to find my x. 6 minus 2x plus 2 times 0. Those completely fall out. So I really just have negative 5x equals negative 6 minus 2x. Solving this equation, I'd add 2x to both sides. Divide by negative 3 on both sides, and I get x equals 2. On my x-intercept, or on my x-axis, I mark my x-intercept of being 2. My y-intercept is found by plugging 0 in for x. So I'm going to plug 0 in for x and solve for y. For every x I come to, I'm plugging in 0. So those fall out. And this time I have 4y equals 6 plus 2y. I'll solve this by subtracting 2y from both sides. I get 2y equals 6. I'll divide by 2 on both sides, and I get y is 3. So on my y-axis, I will plot 3. Connect my dots together, and I'm finished. My last example talks about how a filmmaker has $6,000 to make a film that costs $75 per hour to produce. There's a function 6,000 minus 75x that gives the amount of money left to make the film after x hours of production. Graph this function and find what each of the intercepts represent. So the first thing I will do is I will just find my x and y intercepts. Remember, f of x is a fancy word for y. I may not get this finished in this video, so there may be another short video right after this one. So I'm going to solve and find my x-intercept. So I'll move my 75x to the other side. And I'll get 75x equals 6,000. I will divide by 75. And I'll have to do this finish this up on my next video. I am solving for my x-intercept.